Before we go further, subscribe to the History Vault channel, because this episode preserves a defensive method born under conditions far harsher than anything most modern homes face. During the Second World War, cities endured blackouts, strained policing, and widespread material scarcity. Homes were occupied at odd hours, neighbourhoods went dark by order, and theft surged wherever predictability appeared. Out of this pressure emerged a home defence move designed not to confront intruders directly, but to defeat their assumptions. It relied on deception, delay, and controlled uncertainty, and it remains effective precisely because it does not depend on force, power, or technology. This section explains why World War II planners treated burglary as a problem of timing and certainty. Wartime civil defense manuals did not assume criminals were reckless. They assumed intruders were cautious, calculating, and unwilling to take risks they could not measure. The goal of home defense was therefore to make outcomes uncertain. If entry could not be completed quickly and silently, the attempt usually ended. This understanding shaped a method that turned ordinary houses into unpredictable spaces without visible fortification. This section explains the core move that defined the strategy. The lost World War II home defence move was controlled interior resistance combined with concealed reinforcement. Instead of strengthening doors and windows visibly, households reinforced from the inside while allowing the exterior to appear unchanged. This inverted the usual logic. Intruders expected weakness after initial entry. Instead, they encountered resistance only after committing to the attempt, when retreat was most costly. Right. So this section explains how internal reinforcement worked in practice. Doors were backed internally with removable crossbars mounted into wall studs rather than frames. And, windows received internal shutters or mesh positioned several inches behind the glass. These reinforcements were not visible from outside and were not engaged permanently. At night or during blackouts they were set in place. During the day they were removed to preserve normal appearance. The house did not look fortified. It became fortified only when it mattered. This section explains why concealment mattered more than strength. Visible defences invite planning. Concealed defences destroy planning. An intruder who meets resistance earlier than expected adapts. But an intruder who meets resistance later, after noise and effort, abandons the attempt. During World War II, defence strategies really leaned into this psychological shift. The aim wasn't so much to win a direct fight, but rather to make the enemy withdraw by creating a sense of uncertainty. Here we'll look at how sound itself became a weapon, without even using alarms. Homes were set up so that any force movement would make noise that just couldn't be avoided. Things like loose floorboards inside, metal fixtures hanging near entryways, and hollow wooden barriers all work to make vibrations louder. Now, these weren't actual traps, but rather they served as sound multipliers. You see, in blackout conditions, sound could travel much farther than light ever could. Neighbourhoods relied on being aware of each other, while intruders had to count on keeping quiet. The whole setup was designed to give the advantage to the defender, and all without any direct confrontation. So, this section, well, it gives a historical example of the move in use. In British cities during those prolonged blackout periods, households reinforced doors internally each night, while interestingly leaving exterior locks unchanged. Reports from civil defence wardens noted a sharp drop in completed break-ins on streets where this method spread. Attempts did still occur, but, completion rates fell. The method did not stop entry attempts. It stopped success. This section, explains how timing completed the defence. Reinforcement was temporary and predictable only to the occupants. It was deployed at night, during alerts, or whenever households were present. This, in turn, prevented pattern recognition. Intruders could not learn when defences were active. Every attempt carried unknown resistance. Over time, areas using this method experience fewer attempts altogether. This section explains how the same logic applies today without creating hazards. Modern application does not require replicating wartime materials. The principle is internal reinforcement that is invisible externally and engaged only when needed. Interior security bars, removable braces, and internal window screens achieve the same effect. The emphasis remains on concealment, delayed resistance, and sound awareness rather than confrontation. Right, so this section explains why this method outperforms many modern systems. You see, modern security often advertises itself. Cameras, signage, and visible hardware communicate capability, but also boundaries. World War II-style concealed defense, communicates nothing until it is too late to plan around it. It does not rely on response time, connectivity, or external intervention. It relies on physics and psychology. This section explains why the move disappeared after the war. Post-war architecture favoured openness. Security became centralised through policing and technology. The idea of temporary concealed defence felt unnecessary. As a result, a method that required discipline rather than products faded from common knowledge. This section closes with the enduring lesson and, a final call to subscribe. The lost World War II home defence move was never about fear. It was about control. It treated the home as a dynamic environment rather than a static object. By delaying intrusion, amplifying uncertainty, and avoiding visibility, it outsmarted intruders without escalation. If this guide added real historical depth and practical insight, subscribe to the History Vault channel. Share this episode with others who value proven defensive thinking and help keep these lessons alive for the future.